We are here at the Earl of Desmond monument at Boher an Iarla, here in the Clowniginty woods. We are here to tell the story of the Earl of Desmond. The Earl of Desmond's story began in the year 910, when a branch of the Geraldine family left Florence and went to live in Normandy in France. In 1066 they went to England with William the Conqueror, and then on to Ireland in 1169 with the Normans. However, it was here in Clowniginty, the Glen of the Morning, that the story came to an end on November the 11th, 1583, with the death of Gerald, the last knighted Earl of Desmond, 5 months after the Earl of Ormond had put a price on the Earl's head. When Donny O'Kelly cut off the Earl of Desmond's head, he earned himself a pension of £20 a year. However, O'Kelly himself was later executed in England for highway robbery. The Earl's capture was brought about after a small group of his followers plundered a farm near Castlemaine and stole the cattle. The farmer alerted the government forces, and they tracked the stolen cattle to here in Clowniginty, where they made a surprise dawn attack on the Earl's men. In the Desmond survey of 1584, this area was described as one of the wildest and most remote parts of Munster at that time, a place shunned by most except for those who needed to lose themselves among its rugged glens and woods. One of the more gruesome stories to happen here was the capture of the rebel Earl here in 1583, after being betrayed for a piece of silver by one of his own men. As his captors made their way cautiously across the streams and glens of this woodland, they became increasingly concerned that the Earl's men would ambush them, and as their progress was being delayed by the injured Earl, it was decided to behead him here in the wood and make good their escape with his head. They cast his body behind an old oak tree, now known as the Desmond tree, across the road from where the monument in his memory and apparently marks the spot where his life ended. In 1586, the Blennerhassett family of Thomas and his son Robert arrived in Ballymcalligat from Flimby in Cumberland, and they were granted over 3,000 acres of land forfeited by the defeated Earl of Desmond. So what do we know about the Earl of Desmond? He was born in 1533, and at the age of approximately 18, he married his second cousin, 40-year-old Joan Butler. It was her third marriage. She was originally a member of the Fitzgerald clan, but married Butler. The purpose of the marriage was to make peace between the Butler and the Fitzgerald clans. However, the Fitzgerald and Butler clans were bitter enemies, and Joan's son Black Tom and the Earl of Desmond eventually went into battle against each other in 1565, a month after the death of Joan. While alive, she managed to keep them from all-out war. The internet tells us that particular battle in 1565 was the last battle fought in this country between two private armies. We know that in 1541 his father signed an agreement with the Queen that he would be brought up in England as a companion for the young king, but this never materialised. We know that he was knighted in 1558, and we know that he spent many years as a prisoner in the Tower of London. We also know that in January 1565 he married Eleanor, 3 weeks after his first wife Joan had died. The Earl and Eleanor had 2 sons. One report goes so far as to say that marrying Eleanor was the most sensible thing that the Earl did in his lifetime. She was very much a Maid Marian of Sherwood Forest character, and is described as an outstanding horsewoman. There are many stories told of her many daring exploits of skill in leading soldiers away from her injured husband in the woods north of Castleisland, which today we know as Clowniginty. One such story tells of how they got surrounded in a shelter in the woods, and how she dragged her injured husband into the river and kept them both hidden in the water until the search party moved on. While he was a prisoner in London, she kept charge of his army and collected the rent and sent money to London for his comfort. She was very popular among his followers, and even the Queen admitted that for someone she initially despised, she built up a grudging admiration for the shrewd Eleanor. He spent 2 years hiding in these woods here in Gleneginty, and the Ordnance Survey maps of the day show that he had a castle of some sort just west of the hiker's cabin in the little flat green area where the roadway now runs through. This area is known locally as the Castle Field. Gleneginty Woods are now a place of peace and recreation. I had at that time built up a feared reputation of bandits and warriors, and thus gained the tag as the Sherwood Forests of Munster. From 1580 to 1583 this area around us was a place where only the brave or the wanted set foot, as its fearsome reputation continued to grow. When the Earl was captured, his health was very poorly, as he had got badly injured in the battle with Black Tom, and that injury really came back to haunt him in later years. And at his death, in his early 50s, his captors described him as an old man. Take a look around this landscape today and let your mind's eye wander back in time and try and visualize the battles, the brutality and the bravery that took place here all around where you now stand.